The story of Deborah and Barak is found in the book of Judges, chapters 4 and 5. Here's a summary of the key events. Before we start, we'd like to ask for your support. If you enjoy our video, please hit the like button. This will help us reach more people and create content for you. Now let's get started with today's video. The story of Deborah and Barak is one of the most compelling narratives in the book of Judges, demonstrating the power of faith, leadership, and divine intervention. This account spans Judges chapters 4 and 5, encompassing both the historical event and its poetic retelling in the Song of Deborah. Here is a detailed exploration of their story. Historical context. The book of Judges describes a turbulent period in Israel's history between the conquest of Canaan and the establishment of the monarchy. During this time, Israel was a loose confederation of tribes without centralized governance. The recurring cycle of sin, oppression, repentance, and deliverance is a prominent theme in Judges. When the Israelites turned away from God to worship other deities, God allowed them to be oppressed by their enemies. They would then cry out to God, who would raise a judge to deliver them. Characters and setting. Deborah. Deborah is introduced as a prophetess and the wife of Lapidoth. She was a judge over Israel, a rare role for a woman in the patriarchal society of ancient Israel. Deborah's leadership is notable not just because of her gender but also because of her wisdom and spiritual insight. She held court under the palm of Deborah, situated between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim, where the Israelites came to her for judgment. Judges chapter 4 verses 4 to 5. Barak, the son of Abinoam from Kadesh in Naphtali, is a military leader chosen by God to deliver Israel from the Canaanite oppression. His name means lightning, possibly indicating his swiftness or the speed of his military actions. Jabin and Sisera. Jabin was the king of Canaan who reigned in Hazor. His military commander, Sisera, oppressed the Israelites with a formidable force that included 900 iron chariots, making them a daunting enemy. Judges chapter 4 verses 2 to 3. Jael, the wife of Eber the Kenite, plays a pivotal role in the defeat of Sisera. Her surprising act of bravery and deception contributes to the Israelite victory. The call to action. The narrative begins with the Israelites suffering under Jabin's rule for 20 years. Their cry for help reached God, who initiated their deliverance through Deborah. God instructed Deborah to summon Barak and deliver a message. He was to take 10,000 men from the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun and lead them to Mount Tabor. God promised to lure Sisera and his army to the Kishon River and deliver them into Barak's hands. Judges chapter 4 verses 6 to 7. Barak's response to Deborah's command reveals his respect for her prophetic authority. He agreed to go but insisted that Deborah accompany him, suggesting his reliance on her spiritual guidance and assurance of God's presence. Deborah consented but prophesied that the honor of victory over Sisera would not go to Barak but to a woman. Judges chapter 4 verses 8 to 9. The battle. Barak gathered the troops as instructed, and they marched to Mount Tabor. Sisera, upon hearing of Barak's movements, mobilized his chariots and forces to the Kishon River, confident in his military superiority. However, God intervened. Judges chapter 4 verses 14 to 15 describes how Deborah urged Barak into battle with the assurance that the Lord has gone out before you. God threw Sisera and all his chariots and army into a panic before Barak's onslaught. The exact nature of the panic is not detailed in Judges chapter 4, but Judges chapter 5 verses 4 to 5 and 5:20 to 21 suggest divine elements such as rain causing the river to flood, turning the battlefield into a quagmire that neutralized the chariot's effectiveness. Sisera abandoned his chariot and fled on foot, indicating the complete disarray of his forces. Barak pursued the fleeing Canaanite army, killing all of Sisera's men. Judges chapter 4 verse 16. Jael's deception. While Barak pursued Sisera's army, Sisera sought refuge in the tent of Jael, the wife of Eber the Kenite. The Kenites were descendants of Moses' father-in-law, Hobab, and had allied with the Israelites, but Eber had separated from his clan and pitched his tent near Kadesh. This location was neutral ground, possibly giving Sisera a false sense of security. Judges chapter 4 verse 17. Jael welcomed Sisera into her tent, offered him milk, a gesture of hospitality, and covered him with a blanket. Exhausted, Sisera fell asleep. Jael then took a tent peg and a hammer and drove the peg through Sisera's temple, killing him. Her act fulfilled Deborah's prophecy that a woman would claim the honor of defeating Sisera. Judges chapter 4 verses 18 to 21. When Barak arrived in pursuit, Jael showed him the lifeless body of Sisera. This act marked the beginning of the end for Jabin's oppression, as the Israelites continued to grow stronger and eventually destroyed him. Judges chapter 4 verses 22 to 24. The Song of Deborah and Barak. Judges chapter 5 records the Song of Deborah and Barak, a poetic retelling of the events that celebrates God's deliverance and praises those who participated in the battle. The song is one of the oldest passages in the Bible, reflecting ancient Israelite poetry and liturgy. Structure and themes of the song. Introduction and praise. The song opens with a call to hear the words of Deborah and Barak, followed by praise for the leaders and the people who willingly offered themselves for battle. Judges chapter 5 verses 1 to 2. Divine intervention. The song vividly describes God's intervention, using imagery of nature, the earth trembling, the heavens dropping water, and mountains quaking. Judges chapter 5 verses 4 to 5. This reflects the belief that God's presence and power are manifested through natural phenomena. Historical review. The song recounts the dire state of Israel before Deborah's rise to leadership, highlighting the social and spiritual decay during that period. Judges chapter 5 verses 6 to 8. Call to action. Deborah and Barak's call to action is praised, emphasizing the gathering of the tribes of Israel for battle. The song names the tribes that participated and rebukes those who did not. Judges chapter 5 verses 9 to 18. Battle and victory. The central part of the song recounts the battle, focusing on God's intervention. The heavens fought and the stars from their courses fought against Sisera. The Kishon River swept them away, illustrating the divine assistance in the victory. Judges chapter 5 verses 19 to 22. Sisera's fate. The song poetically describes Jael's act of killing Sisera, celebrating her bravery and the fulfillment of Deborah's prophecy. Sisera's mother is depicted waiting in vain for his return, adding a poignant touch to the narrative. Judges chapter 5 verses 24 to 30. Conclusion. The song concludes with a prayer for God's enemies to perish and for his friends to be like the sun rising in its might, symbolizing the triumph of light over darkness. Judges chapter 5 verse 31. Themes and significance. Leadership and gender roles. The story of Deborah and Barak challenges traditional gender roles, highlighting Deborah's leadership and spiritual authority in a male-dominated society. Jael's decisive action further emphasizes the pivotal roles women played in Israel's deliverance. Faith and obedience. Barak's willingness to follow Deborah's command and the people's response to the call to arms demonstrate faith and obedience. The narrative underscores the importance of trusting in God's plan and acting courageously. Divine providence. The story emphasizes God's sovereignty and intervention in human affairs. The victory over Sisera's formidable army, achieved through natural phenomena and human agency, illustrates God's power and providence. Unity and division. The account highlights the need for unity among the tribes of Israel in the face of common threats. The rebuke of the tribes that did not join the battle serves as a reminder of the consequences of disunity. Justice and retribution. The narrative reflects the biblical theme of divine justice, where the oppressor, Sisera, meets a fitting end, and the oppressed, Israel, are delivered. Jael's act of killing Sisera can be seen as a form of divine retribution. The battle. Gathering the troops. Barak assembled 10,000 men from Naphtali and Zebulun and led them to Mount Tabor. When Sisera heard about this, he mobilized his 900 iron chariots and all his men to the Kishon River. Judges chapter 4 verses 10 to 13. Divine intervention. Deborah urged Barak to advance, assuring him that the Lord had gone ahead of him. Barak's forces descended from Mount Tabor, and the Lord threw Sisera's army into confusion. Judges chapter 4 verse 15 indicates that Sisera abandoned his chariot and fled on foot, which suggests that something extraordinary happened, possibly a sudden downpour causing the river to flood, turning the battlefield into a quagmire that rendered the chariots useless. Judges chapter 5 verses 20 to 21. Total defeat. Barak pursued the fleeing Canaanite army, and not a man was left alive. Sisera, however, fled on foot to the tent of Jael, seeking refuge. Judges chapter 4 verses 16 to 17. Jael's deception. Sisera's flight. Sisera arrived at Jael's tent, and she welcomed him, offering hospitality by giving him milk and covering him with a blanket. Exhausted, Sisera fell asleep. Jael then took a tent peg and a hammer and drove the peg through Sisera's temple, killing him. Judges chapter 4 verses 18 to 21. Fulfillment of prophecy. When Barak arrived in pursuit, Jael showed him the lifeless body of Sisera. This act fulfilled Deborah's prophecy that a woman would receive the honor of defeating Sisera. Judges chapter 4 verse 22. Conclusion. The story of Deborah and Barak, along with the Song of Deborah, is a powerful testament to faith, leadership, and divine intervention. It celebrates the courage and obedience of those who trusted in God's deliverance and underscores the pivotal roles of both men and women in fulfilling God's purposes. This narrative continues to inspire and challenge readers with its themes of faith, justice, and the transformative power of God's presence in the lives of His people. This story highlights themes of faith, courage, and divine intervention, with significant roles played by both male and female leaders in delivering Israel from oppression. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. I hope you like this video. Thank you.